Homeland Security vehicles and armed agents, a massive federal operation.
Taking live out to South Minneapolis, where there is an active ICE presence and a chaotic scene.
In the last year, federal immigration agents have poured into cities across the country, sparking fear, frustration, and massive resistance.
There's growing fallout in Minneapolis after the fatal shooting of Renee Good by an ICE agent. There were large organized protests today.
And these operations don't show any signs of slowing down. Flush with federal funds, ICE in particular is looking to establish a permanent presence on the ground. And to do that, the agency is looking to expand its detention centers and field offices, with a focus on the South.
We don't need that or want that anywhere, but especially not here.
We're seeing apolitical people turn political. People's minds are being changed.
I'm Anissa Khalifa. This is The Broadside, where we tell stories from our home at the crossroads of the South. This week, ICE's building boom and how communities are fighting back. All right. Can you please introduce yourself for us?
I am Aaron Sánchez-Guerra. I am the race, class, and communities reporter here at WNC News.
For the past year, Aaron has been covering the fallout from immigration law enforcement in North Carolina. For the most part, it's been a story about people. The ICE agents surging into cities, the reactions from those communities, and the plight of the people they've detained. But recently, he shifted his attention to a new development in that story: buildings. Specifically, proposed ICE facilities that have cropped up across the state. Aaron says many of these places are still very much in the works. But one thing has been clear.
What we do know for a fact is that people have been pushing back. They're saying, we don't want ICE facilities, we don't want immigration detention centers. They're being very vocal about that.
And he's heard that everywhere, from residents in larger metropolitan areas like Charlotte to tiny towns in rural parts of the state.
But what I found in my reporting is that in each different place where there's a proposal to open a new detention center, the situations are very different.
One of the places this pushback is occurring is very close to home for me, Cary, North Carolina. It's a quiet, medium-sized town located right next to Raleigh, in the central part of the state. I've lived in Cary for more than a decade now, and let me tell you, it's not exactly a hotbed of political activism.
So it's a suburban area, and people don't like to be disturbed there. People are happy to live there, proud to live there. So when something goes wrong there, and the town government has anything to do with it, the town is going to hear about it.
And that's what happened when reports of a potential ICE field office in Cary started circulating online.
And I would love to take some questions from the audience.
I'm just wondering, is the council doing anything to confirm the rumored ICE facility? And if confirmed, is the council...
Every year, the mayor of Cary does the State of Cary town address, where it's a town hall where he stands in front of his constituents and speaks to them about the town of Cary's issues. And this specific town hall was very charged. It was tense.
Listening to you speak, it sounds lazy, it sounds disingenuous, and it sounds cowardly to continuously say you have no options, you have no authority.
You had a room full of people who were there to ask the mayor, hey, what's going on in our town?
Political will to stand up? Is there the political will to stand up? Can we shut down ICE? Can we shut down ICE?
So Aaron, when all these people were voicing their concerns during the town hall, how did Cary's mayor respond to them?
The mayor pretty much said he knew as much as what some of the residents were saying, but what drew criticism was that he said, hey, our hands are kind of tied. I can't stop the federal government from leasing an office building. Doesn't matter if it's ICE or DHS or, any other federal department.
And this gets at something crucial. The big question here is, how much power does a local government ultimately have to stop ICE from setting up shop in their town? Aaron says it largely depends on where ICE is looking. Whether it's a private or publicly owned building makes a big difference. But the type of facility being proposed is also important. For example, turning a regular building into essentially a large jail might require code changes. And that's why the city of Greensboro, about an hour west of Cary, was able to take a different approach.
Greensboro's situation is unique because essentially you have an empty school being pitched as a new detention center.
Earlier this year, Greensboro's city council heard ICE was interested in a former boarding school as a new detention facility. So local leaders took a closer look at the city's zoning laws.
In response, the city of Greensboro amended its land use ordinance, which governs the city's zoning laws, because this property is within city limits. And the current property is did not previously operate as a jail or a detention center. It was a school. Right?
Very different.
And if you read the text of what the city did, it's very neutral. There's no mention of immigration, anything. But I spoke to the mayor. She told me that thinks that, well, for starters, it wouldn't be, she said, appropriate for the city's zoning laws and their regulations, but also something that would create unrest and insecurity.
Aaron says it's still a question as to whether this proposal for a detention center in Greensboro remains on the table, which points to another big thing at play in these clashes between ICE and local communities. Many of these proposed facilities are shrouded in mystery, with hardly any details coming directly from the federal government.
I mean, nobody knows exactly what the plans are here.
This is Cal Bryant. He's the editor of the Roanoke Chowan Publications, a group of papers and magazines covering northeastern North Carolina.
We're just a small community newspaper. Believe it or not, it's just me and one other reporter.
Oh, wow.
We cover 4 counties here in the northeastern part of the state, so it keeps us pretty busy.
Cal's been reporting on this rural part of the state for decades.
I got ink in my blood, as they say.
And since 2001, that's included covering Rivers Correctional Facility, North Carolina's only privately owned prison. It's located in Hertford County, and for 20 years, the facility worked primarily with the Federal Bureau of Prisons. Over that time, Cal says it became a major employer in the region.
You're looking at 400 jobs. You know, there were a lot of jobs connected with that, so a lot of local people had employment.
The Rivers facility shut down in 2021 after the Biden administration ended federal contracts with private prisons. But the building is still there, and recently, word started to spread of it possibly reopening as a detention center through a contract with ICE.
It was a February 16th meeting of the Board of Commissioners, and of course they have a public comment section during that meeting, and they had like 10 or 15 people who spoke. Most of them, you know, kind of like me, you know, like, what's going on? When is it going to happen? Why is it happening?
After this meeting, Cal tried to get confirmation from the GEO Group, the company that owns the prison.
So I reached out to GEO, and they referred me to ICE. And as of right now, I still haven't heard back from them. It's just a lack of communication.
And similar to the town of Cary, the Hertford County commissioners said they can't dictate who a private company like GEO chooses to contract with. But how do residents feel? Cal says there are plenty of people both for and against reopening the facility.
The proponents say that prisons and detention centers are needed to house those who have committed crimes. They point to the local jobs that come along with that. Opponents say that detention centers are overcrowded. They have a lack of medical resources. They stress that entering the country illegally should not carry an automatic prison sentence.
But as a reporter, what's raised the biggest red flags for Cal is all the secrecy behind the project.
Anytime you have people who I always call it jumping in a filing cabinet and hiding, I don't want to show you my files. And in some cases, I understand that. But when you start kind of hiding and not saying what needs to be said, that kind of leads to a lot of apprehension locally. I think people would be better off, even those who are dead set against it, could accept it more if they would just come out and be open about it. So, but again, the secrecy is a deterrent here.
So, I mean, given that, as you said, for 20 years, this facility existed without much of a pushback from the community, and now people are really, pushing back against it. What do you think is different this time? What's unique about this moment now?
To be honest, 3 letters, ICE. They haven't done themselves a big favor. I'm a law enforcement proponent, always have been. I mean, I have to deal with them here. I have a lot of respect for what they do, and 99.9% of them are great people to work with. But nobody said anything about it until now. So ICE has not done themselves any favors by the tactics that they have deployed in other areas. I'll leave it at that.
But North Carolina is just one state in ICE's push to expand its detention footprint. When we come back, we'll look at the massive scale of its campaign and why the agency's eye is fixed on the South. If you own a home, you need to know about Angie. Because whether you're dealing with daily maintenance, emergency fixes, or even a major renovation, it can be hard to find the right help. Sometimes you don't even know where to start. But Angie's been connecting people with skilled pros for over 30 years, and they've made it easier than ever to get your home projects done well. Angie gives you access to a nationwide network of tradespeople with the right skills. Experts in everything from plumbing and landscaping to roofing, remodels, and more. Just bring Angie your project, answer a few questions, and Angie provides you with nearby pros who match your needs. You can easily read verified reviews, check out photos of past work, and request and compare quotes to find your best price. Which means you could tackle that next home project in just a few taps. So the next time your home needs some TLC, join the millions of homeowners who have used Angie to care for their homes. Download the free Angie app today or visit Angie.com. That's ANGI.com.
Hi, I'm pianist Manny X. On my new podcast, Classical Music Happy Hour, my guests and I talk about life and music, and we also like to play games. Is it a composer or is it cheese?
Oh, I know this game.
Knowing Mozart, it's probably all of the above.
It's all of the above. Is this a fake or was this a flop?
Flop.
That's more mistakes than I made in my last recital. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
Hi, I'm Eric Westervelt. I'm a senior editor and correspondent with NPR News, and I currently lead our immigration editing team coverage.
I reached out to Eric because he and his team recently published an in-depth report looking at the Trump administration's ongoing expansion of immigration detention facilities across the country.
We want to understand where immigrants are being held, what communities, what's the pushback like, what are the numbers like, what are the costs, and really how this is playing out across America.
We've seen a lot of attention paid to expanded enforcement by ICE and DHS, and especially on the ground, recruitment and training of new ICE officers. But I think there's less understanding of the infrastructure expansion. Big picture, can you describe what we're looking at here in terms of infrastructure expansion?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's one of the reasons we wanted to really delve into this, is we've been covering the crackdowns, but really the detention angle. I mean, Homeland Security has nearly $45 billion over 4 years to expand detention capacity to more than 90,000, maybe up to 100,000 detention beds. That's the goal. And under Kristi Noem, who's recently ousted as DHS secretary, the plan is being carried out by sort of buying up at least 8 large-scale detention properties, including these industrial-style warehouses capable of holding between 7,000 and 10,000 detainees. I mean, these would be facilitated by 16 smaller, more regional processing centers to hold people. And remember, this is in addition to ICE expanding contracts with local jails and private prison facilities as it builds out what is really, a detention footprint unprecedented in the modern era, both in size and in cost. And if you count county jails and hospitals and temporary sites and holding facilities, ICE detainees have now been held in more than 200 sites around the country.
The numbers are hard to even wrap your mind around. I mean, $45 billion to grow their detention capacity. And you said unprecedented, but I'm just wondering, is there something that you can compare this to in terms of the history of immigration enforcement?
Well, I say unprecedented because really we haven't seen anything of this scale since the detention and the mass incarceration of Japanese Americans and Japanese nationals during World War II. So in the modern era, really outside of our prison system, we haven't seen this kind of mass detention. Of course, that incarceration of Japanese Americans and Japanese nationals is, seen as a huge shame on America, something that really had to reckon with over many years. And it feels like the administration has embarked on this mass detention campaign in such a fast way and with so much money and so much effort, that we're also seeing huge pushback from communities across the geographic and political spectrum.
This wide-ranging opposition, Eric says, has been most evident in the response to DHS scooping up empty warehouses as possible detention centers.
The government is now looking at purchasing warehouses like the ones designed for clients like Amazon and retrofitting them to serve as detention facilities for immigrants before they're deported. That is,
so far 11 warehouses have been purchased. Georgia, Maryland, Arizona, Michigan, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Texas, Utah. The federal government has spent more than $1 billion so far on these warehouses. Lawsuits are pending in at least 3 states, so people are pushing back legally and in the political sphere. And, at least 8 big warehouse deals have fallen through after intense pushback, including one in Kansas City, Missouri, when owners decided not to sell. So we're really seeing pushback, from mayors, from county commissioners, from average, ordinary folks as well.
The Department of Homeland Security is pausing the purchase of any new warehouses that are intended to house immigrants. The department is currently...
It's interesting that the agency this week says, look, we're going to look at pausing plans to acquire new detention warehouse space to house immigrants, while also taking a look at or reviewing the contract signed under the now dismissed Secretary Kristi Noem. So I think that's significant that they've hit pause, but officials also underscore to us that the pause is only temporary or maybe only temporary. And so is it more cosmetic, or are they actually going to take a good hard look at how they're rolling this out?
You noted that most of these facilities that are being proposed would be in the South. Why is that, and what's notable about this region?
Yeah, exactly. For the 5 states, Texas, Florida, Arizona, Georgia, Louisiana, account for over 60% of the nation's more than 750,000 ICE detention sort of bookends or stints in a detention facility in custody. And I'd say it's a combination of 3 things. These are friendlier state and local governments for the Republican Trump administration. Republican-leaning towns and Republican-controlled state legislatures are just going to be more amenable to ICE detention than other states. And number 2, labor unions are less powerful and have just fewer members in the South. And third, availability of space and land. So those are 3 key factors, in my view, that are sort of driving the construction, or at least the planning, of detention expansion across the South and Southeast.
One thing we've noticed here in North Carolina is that there's a lot of confusion from local governments. They either don't know how to respond, or they're coming up with new ways to kind of address the issues that folks are bringing up and create some kind of transparency. What allows ICE and DHS to actually operate with such secrecy?
Some of it is the time-tested federal government coming in and kind of feeling like we're going to Bigfoot and do what we want. We're the feds and we have supremacy on a certain level. And I think they completely underestimated the pushback that was going to be there, that, as I said, more ordinary citizens, but Also, politicians saying, look, we have maybe moral and ethical concerns about housing human beings in large converted warehouses that used to be used for packages or to hold foodstuffs. To local communities really worried about strains on local services, saying, look, what's the impact on water, on sewer systems, on emergency services? What's the zoning impact here? So friendly Bigfooting didn't play well. And a lot of it is, we don't want this. There was really just at the end of the day, people saying, this will be nearby, not far from our school or where our kids play Little League or, where we go shopping. And we don't want a big ICE detention center in our town.
That kind of local pushback was on full display in mid-March in Ahoskie, North Carolina. The small town of roughly 5,000 people is located right next door to Rivers Correctional Facility in Hertford County. On a Saturday afternoon, about 50 people showed up to protest Rivers potentially reopening as a detention center. WUNC News reporter Aaron Sánchez-Guerra was on site.
I went to what the people there protesting said was the first ever downtown Ahoskie protest.
First ever?
First ever.
Wow.
And I hope that we can do something to make them have second thoughts about putting it here.
At the protest, I heard from one lifelong Hertford County resident. Her name is Booker Daniel.
Because it's my home. And I don't want my home to be inhospitable to anybody. I lived in Hertford County through the 1960s, through segregation. It was tough then. I was a child, but we can rise to the occasion.
Back in the newsroom of the Roanoke Chowan News Herald, Cal Bryant, who grew up near Ahoskie, emphasized just how unique a gathering like this was.
I mean, I've seen protests at a meeting where people would hold up signs at the back of a commissioner's meeting room for various reasons, but nothing from a street corner.
So do you think that this will influence local community flexing their power more in the future? Like, do you think that this is a sort of a moment of folks coming together to organize that will mean that the community will become more active?
Certainly, I hope so. I mean, communities need that. You need watchdog groups. You need people who are, looking after Big Brother, so to speak. So, yes, I mean, I would hope so. I would encourage them to do so. I would encourage them, if they choose to do so, to do it in an orderly fashion and tell me what's on your mind. We may not agree, but we're not going to disagree. I'll listen to what you got to say, and I hope you can listen to what I've got to say. So, open dialogue is great.
You'll see that in much of this pushback that I've been mentioning, much of these protests against immigration detention centers that I've been covering, immigrants themselves or permanent residents or naturalized citizens, for the most part, are not involved in these protests. And there's a number of reasons for that, but we're seeing American citizens do this. And I think that says a lot, especially in a quiet, town like Ahoskie, that we're seeing them speak out, right, in a place that is not a political hotbed. We're seeing apolitical people turn political, and people's minds are being changed.
If you want to check out reporting from Aaron Sánchez-Guerra of WUNC News and NPR's Eric Westervelt, we've dropped links in this week's show notes. This episode of The Broadside was produced by Charlie Shelton Ormond and edited by Jared Walker. Our executive producer is Wilson Sayre. Al Wodarski provided technical support. And special thanks goes out to NPR's Valentina Rodriguez Sanchez and Jack Mitchell. This week, we featured audio from CBS New York, WCCO in Minneapolis, CBS News, NBC News, and WPVI in Philadelphia. The Broadside is a production of WUNC News in North Carolina and is part of the NPR network. If you have feedback or a story idea, you can email us at broadside@wunc.org. If you enjoyed the show, leave us a rating, a review, or share it with a friend. I'm Anissa Khalifa. Thanks for listening, y'all. We'll be back next week.
TV has thousands of free movies and TV shows.
We're coming at you with everything we got.
This is the mindset. Free. This is the mantra. Free. This is the mindset. With movies like Pineapple Express, the entire Star Trek film franchise, and Gladiator, and TV shows like Survivor, SpongeBob SquarePants, The Fairly Odd Parents, and Ghosts, Pluto TV is always free. Huzzah! Pluto TV. Stream now, pay never.